Right, good morning. How lovely to be here. I'll be telling you another story. Today we're going to explore a story from the inside out. We're going to go back in time 2 millennia. That's a long time, isn't it? So I will turn my back, say 3, 2, 1, and you have to say action! And at the end of the story, I will turn my back again, say 3, 2, 1, and you say cut! And then I will be Mr. Ray again. Okay, so here we go. You ready? Yep. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. So, how nice to see you all. Seeing you all here reminds me of the day when Jesus came to our town. And everybody was so excited that they came out onto the streets buzzing with excitement because they'd heard the news that Jesus was on his way. Everybody had heard the stories about what happened when Jesus came. And miracles would happen. And amazing stories would be told about God that people had never heard before. In our minds, we try to imagine what Jesus would look like. Surely someone as amazing would also look amazing. And when he arrived, we all looked, which one is he? Which one? Huh? But he looks so ordinary, like us. Well, of course, on one hand, he was ordinary. But on the other hand, there was something inside that was very, very different. You see, when Jesus looked at us, we felt drawn in and included and welcomed like never before. When Jesus spoke to us, we felt loved and valued like never before. You could say that everything about him was full of, let's fill in the first word. Hands up, don't call out. Everything about him was full of
love.
Well done. Let's say it together.
Love.
You see, we had lots of religious leaders in every village and town and city, but they didn't make us feel like Jesus. They made us feel like they were much better than we would ever be. Now, we were all Jewish people. One of the wonderful things about being Jewish, you might know this, was that we all had this sense of family and belonging together. In fact, way back in time, we all had the same great, all the way back to the wall, grandparents. And they were called Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah. Not Abraham and Joseph. Abraham and Sarah were our ancestors. We were their descendants. And that gave us this great feeling of belonging together. One of the things that we found tricky, though, about being Jewish was how many rules they were, and regulations, and laws. And we even had something even bigger than laws. We had the 10 Commandments. Well done. Now these were 10 important rules about what you must do or must not do. And they were given by God to our hero in the faith called Moses. Yes. And God gave them to Moses on a big stone tablet engraved by God's finger. Now, we didn't have the rules anymore. We didn't have the tablet with the commandments anymore. It had been stolen by another country and taken away from our temple. But we think it looked a bit like this. And on it were the commandments written in writing that went from right to left. In Hebrew, that's the way our writing goes. Whenever we got together as Jewish people, our teachers of the law would get out these things. Who knows what these are called? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Well done. These are called scrolls. And our teachers of the law and the priests would read out all the laws to us. And we would sit and shudder because I couldn't even remember all the rules, let alone do them. Oh, that was really hard. But when Jesus came, It didn't feel like that. It was like there was a different feeling. Now, there were so many people who wanted to listen to Jesus that we didn't even have room to all sit somewhere in the town. So we all followed Jesus out to the countryside. And there we sat in the spring sunshine. Hundreds and hundreds of us sitting excitedly, expectantly, eagerly, wondering what Jesus would say and do. Now somebody called out from the crowd, "Jesus, teacher, we have so many different rules, but which one is the greatest? Which is the greatest commandment?" When we heard this, we all thought, that's a really good question. Because if we know the most important one, the greatest one, then we can try to do that. And surely that would really count for something. Now what Jesus said to us really shocked us. He said, they're all to do with love. Love? Rules to do with love. Well, we'd never heard of such a thing. What on earth did he mean? He said this to us. Hands up for this. Hands up.
Oh.
Yes.
First.
Well done. Let's say it together.
First.
Jesus said to us, the first commandment, and therefore the greatest, is this. It is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your strength. Well, we'd never heard that one before. That sounded like a really good law, not a bad one. But I knew it would be hard. I would need God to help me to do it. That would be funny, to ask God, will you help me to love you? But I had a feeling that he would do that if I asked him. Then Jesus said to us, the second one, the second greatest commandment is this. It is to love all of your neighbours as much as you love yourself. All of your neighbours as much as you love yourself. Well, I thought that won't be easy because my neighbours are all the people in my school, in my clubs, in my street. All the people I share my life with are my neighbours. And if I have to love them as much as I love my own life, then I will have to treat them the way I want to be treated. Because the way I want to be treated is my standard in life. And I must use my standard. That must also regulate how I treat other people. I must treat others the same as I expect them to treat me. And I knew then that I would have to really think about that. While we were sitting there, let me tell you, it was springtime. Now, the birds were building their nests. The bunnies were running around looking for love. And Jesus, let me just show you, my tree is a bit bare. Right, we're going to count in seconds and see how quickly I can cover the bare tree in leaves, all the same size and shape, okay? So, could you lead in seconds, like one elephant or one hippopotamus, so they don't go too fast? From go, okay? Ready? Go!
1 elephant, 2 elephants, 3 elephants, 4 elephants, 5 elephants, 6 elephants, 8 elephants.
7.5 elephants. There's some noisy people here.
It was 7.
So,
You went 6 elephants, 8 elephants.
so while we were sitting there in the spring sunshine, we noticed that Jesus reached down and picked a flower. It was an ordinary flower. If you could say that any flower was ordinary. Remember, hands up if you want to say something or ask a question, no interrupting. Now, Jesus said to us, consider the flowers in the field. Well, that's a good word, consider. That means to think deeply, to reflect. So I considered the flower and I realised it was more delicate and more intricate and more exquisite than I'd ever noticed before. But what did he mean? Jesus said to us, these flowers are picked, and a few days later, people throw them away. They're disposable. And yet, God gives them everything they need. They're very precious to God. He gives them all they need. They don't have to worry about anything. I thought that was funny. I can't imagine a flower worrying. Can you?
No.
I can't imagine a flower looking worried. But Jesus said they don't worry. So what does God give them that they need? Hands up and tell me something that flowers need.
Water.
They do. Well done. So they get water from the rain and the dew. Something else?
Sun.
Sunshine for energy. Well done. And one more thing that they need.
Nutrients.
Nutrients. Okay. They get some nutrients from
We've got another term.
from
Soil.
the soil. Well done. So 3 things they need. Guess that. So Jesus said to us, if God gives the flowers what they need, how much more will he give you what you need? Because you are much more precious to God than flowers. Well, I'd never heard that before. That made me feel kind of nice inside. And then he pointed to the birds and said, look at them. We looked at the birds. They were building their nests and twittering away, gathering food. They didn't have a care in the world. And Jesus said this to us. He said, everything they have from the hand of their Heavenly Father. They don't need anything. But they don't worry. They don't fret. They don't fuss. They don't get anxious. So stop worrying, all of you. Oh, I think you read my mind. Hands up here who worries sometimes about things. Do you? Oh, lots and lots of you worry. Yeah, hands down. Well, do you know what Jesus said to us? He said, don't worry about things because it doesn't change anything. It doesn't add an hour to your life. It doesn't change a hair on your head. It doesn't make tomorrow better. And I realized it was true. It just makes you feel yuck inside. Nod if you know that's true. It just makes you feel yuck inside. Oh. So Jesus said to us, he said, don't worry, instead, do this. He said, first of all, put God first, and then do this. Hands up for this word. Hands up for that one. Yes.
Trust.
Well done. Let's say it together. Trust.
Trust.
He said if you put God first and then trust him, he will give you everything you need in your life. Do you know what? I'd never heard that before. That sounded fantastic. As we were thinking about this, we noticed that Jesus reached down and picked something that was maybe the teeniest, tiniest thing you could hold between your finger and thumb. Can you see what this is? Hands up if you know what it is. Hands up, don't call out. Do you know? Oh no, it's not a stone. Do you know? A seed, well done. It is a seed. This one is a grain of wheat. And Jesus said to us, your lives are like this. Huh? Your lives are like this. We didn't know what he meant. We knew that if you had a sack of these, you would give them to the miller, and the miller would grind them into flour to make bread that we love, and biscuits and cakes that we like as well. But Jesus said, your lives are like one of these. I didn't understand. And then I realized, oh, if you had one seed and you gave it to a farmer instead of a miller, what would the miller do with it? Sorry, what would the farmer do with it?
Well, I know what he meant.
Hang on, no, wait. Don't jump the gun. What would the farmer do with it?
They'd plant it.
Fantastic. The farmer would plant it, and then the seed would disappear because it germinated, and from it would grow a beautiful plant, taller and taller and stronger, and then at harvest time, a head of seeds would appear. And I realized that Jesus meant this to us. In fact, he explained. He said, instead of doing this with your life, this is my life. Hands off, everybody. It's my life. Instead of doing that,
And trust.
he meant do this. Let's put a prefix on here. And let's make this more powerful. Hands up for this one. Hands up.
Entrust.
Well done. Let's say it together.
Entrust.
So, entrust is when you trust someone so much, you will give them something precious of yours. And Jesus said, entrust your life to your Heavenly Father. He will plant it. It may feel like your life is disappearing as you trust Him, that your own life is disappearing. But from it will grow a wonderful tall plant. And eventually there will be lots of stuff on top, a harvest, lots of seeds that you could never do on your own. So, 3, 2, 1. Now, what I've realised in my life is this. Sometimes God asks you to do things that are quite hard. To love Him, to love each other, to entrust ourselves to Him. But when I was a teenager, I realised that God wasn't asking me to do anything that He hadn't first done. And so for Christians, the most important proof of God's love for us is this. That on the cross, Jesus entrusted His life to His Heavenly Father. God showed us how much He loves us. And then when we understand that, when we trust that, we can love Him back and love each other. So lots and lots to think about this morning.